Ever wondered how you can be part of a global movement to help the most unfortunate Filipino communities? Caritas Philippines invites you to take part in doing Alay Kapwa sa Caritas in 9 different ways. These revitalized Alay Kapwa Stewardship Program will let you support the 9 priority interventions of the Catholic Church starting this year through Caritas Philippines. Be part of our global network of compassion. Show your love, kindness, and generosity by supporting the following stewardship programs. Alay para sa kabataan. For only 137 pesos a day, send a youth to school and end their family's cycle of poverty. Alay para sa karunungan at kasanayan. For 168 pesos a day, professionally train a social action worker from your diocese. Alay para sa kabuhayan. For 50,000 pesos, share your blessings for a kabuhayan package for a community of fishermen. Alay para sa kalusugan. For 100,000 pesos, at least 1,500 farmers will be assured of food for their families. Alay para sa kanlungan. For only 260 pesos per day, give a disaster-stricken family a permanent home. Alay para sa kababaihan. For only 400 pesos a month, empower rural poor women with sustainable social enterprises. Alay para sa kaligtasan sa kalamidad at sakuna. For 150 pesos per day, help a family prepare for disasters and calamities. Alay para sa kalikasan. For 100 pesos, let trees grow, thrive, and create new forests. Alay para sa katarungan at kapayapaan. For 300 pesos a day, help us build post-harvest facilities for our agrarian reform beneficiaries and indigenous peoples' communities. By being part of our networks of compassion, for just 1 year, you will be enabling families to have better access to a better future. So what are you waiting for? Let us do Alay Kapwa sa Caritas. Because we know how much you wanted to get the right information, we give it to you right here. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Accessible through your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Caritas News on the go.
Happy Friday, everyone. This is Caritas News on the go. I'm Jhing Rey, Henderson. The Catholic Church and a significant number of environmental defenders demanded from President Rodrigo Duterte the reconsideration of the executive order lifting the 9-year-old moratorium and the new mining projects. According to Bishop Jose Colin Bagaforo, National Director of Caritas Philippines, the government is putting false hopes again to mining as its savior to act as economic stimulus in the face of the pandemic. He stressed that mining did no good in the country to the Filipinos and the Philippine ecology decades ago, and it will do no good anytime soon. Caritas Philippines is in the final stages of preparing to open the school year for Caritas Philippines Academy, the CBCP Social Action Teaching and Training Institute. The opening in May will feature a degree course in social work and certificate courses in pastoral management, ecology desk management, and staff development, among others. Caritas Philippines Academy is formerly the Center for Resiliency, Empowerment, and Integral Development. Caritas Philippines is, with our diocesan social action centers, are continuing the implementation of emergency responses in areas affected by the multiple typhoons and flooding last quarter of 2020. To know more about the status of these responses, we have with us this morning the head of our humanitarian unit of Caritas Philippines, Ms. Jeanie, and the social action director of Caritas Virac in Catanduanes, Father Renato La Rosa. Good morning to both of you and welcome to the program, Father Atoy and Ate Jeanie.
Morning.
So we wanted to know now what is the status of our emergency responses. Father Atoy, for your part, how much is the total response budget that we had for Typhoon Ulysses and for Typhoon Rolly, and what are our interventions?
Actually, in the diocese, we have received almost 30 million. And this 30 million came from different funders, religious groups, individuals, maybe corporations and offices, and even local partners who share their alay kapwa, and plus our own alay kapwa in the diocese. So more or less, this is the budget where we make our interventions to the affected individuals and communities in the province and the diocese.
Thank you, Father. Jeanie, for our part at Caritas Philippines, we are implementing multiple responses. So how are these now? And again, what are the interventions that we've had?
Okay. Thank you, Jhing. Thank you, Jhing, for that. So it's been almost 7 months now with having these consecutive typhoons and, of course, the Super Typhoon Rolly that struck in the Philippines. And we are now done with the emergency relief phase and looking into the early recovery interventions. So after the provision of the basic needs like food, shelter, repair kits, medicines, and household items, we are now into the construction of permanent houses, provision of livelihoods like the cash for work, for the preparation of the agricultural lands, and of course the provision of farm inputs for the farmers and the motorboats to the fisher folks. And this also includes trainings on humanitarian aid, orientation on the volunteer management, and it's still ongoing up to now. Actually, as what Father Atoy mentioned, for the total budget, for the National Caritas, we already have this total budget of around 78 million. And this only for the emergency funds from the other sources, but not including the local fund that we also get. And we are targeting more individuals for this.
Okay, and it is very crucial, especially like, for example, Father Atoy, with Catanduanes, you are an island province. So how are you able to determine the needs of the disaster-affected communities? And were you able to make them part of the designing process of the response?
Yes, precisely, because we are in a very strong collaboration first with our local MDRR and LGUs, plus our own human workforce in different parishes, which we call it service committee or social Caritas Parokya or Caritas Barangay. And in this matter, we collaborate, each one of us, and even then found our own data to whom and what the needs and the people we need to help.
Thank you. Ate Jeanie, Caritas Philippines is very big with NIL and ensuring the inclusion of all our partners, of the dioceses. So how did we do this also at the national level?
Okay, so as you know, Jing, we did a rapid needs assessment, which was that was done 48 hours after the super typhoon, and it was really important in determining the magnitude of the crisis and the immediate needs of the affected communities. So the decision to what to provide, it really relies on the result of the assessment, and of course, this is in coordination and collaboration with the local government and other humanitarian actors. And just like any other humanitarian response, it is really more important. The most important is the consultation with the affected communities. So applying the core humanitarian standards on quality and accountability, wherein the community is always at the center of our response. So we as a humanitarian worker, we really need to adhere on that principles.
Thank you so much for stressing that out, because we really wanted to make sure that all the responses that we have are inclusive, and also with ensuring the participation of our communities and our partners. So after this one, we would be implementing the emergency responses for over a year. There are times that we are only implementing this for 6 months. So how do we measure the impact of our responses? Father Atoy, have you received like comments or suggestions coming from our partners and even from the communities as to how we are affecting the lives of the people in terms of what we provide them?
Precisely, they are very happy. In fact, this is what I am humbly experiencing, because the people that we have with all our interventions with from the different sectors in the community, as if they compare between the government, local government, and in the same, we're even more structural. We are more systematic. We're even more even in our identification of our beneficiaries. Wow! And I they are happy, very thankful for these interventions help that we are doing, we're giving to them. And this partly that I told the local government to be more, in a way, working collaboratively with us, because our own intervention, the augmentation of the things that they need to do for our people. We are here to help augment what, in one way or another, lacking.
So that's how we are also complementing the government responses and other organizations' humanitarian actions in the local level, especially in Catanduanes. But at the Jeanie, for Caritas Philippines, do we have like a scientific or exercise in which we determine or measure the impact of the responses that we have?
Okay, so as I mentioned, as early as now, we are done already with the emergency relief phase, and we are now starting on the early recovery. Although as early as now, we already observed and got feedback from our project partner beneficiary on some of the immediate effect on those we provided, especially for the cash for work and the farm inputs, and of course the shelter repair. However, at the end of the project, an external evaluation will be conducted, looking into the effectiveness, the efficiency, and the relevance and the sustainability of the project, and considering also an identification of the good practices after the intervention. Yes.
Thank you so much. Kasi there are queries that we are receiving on how we are measuring really the impact. And this is not only qualitative data, but also quantitative, because as you have said, we really conduct not only reflection sessions, but really a project, end of project evaluation for our responses. Father Ato, just the last one. What is your message to all the people who supported Catanduanes and Caritas Virac in your response for the last several months?
For those who truly help us, we, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for bringing us and giving us hope in our lives here in the island of Catanduanes. Thank you so much. And the only thing that we can do as of now is to pray for you, for your generosity, for your kindness to us, making us part of, for giving us hope in our lives here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Atoy. And Ate Jeanie, thank you so much for joining us in the program. And we hope that you will be traveling safe going back to Manila. And Father Atoy, we pray still for your safety and for your good health. Maraming salamat po sa inyong dalawa.
Live na.
Thank
Live
you
na,
so
di ba?
We have Ms. Jeanie Curiano, our humanitarian head, and Father Atoy de la Rosa, the director of Caritas Virac, with us. We will be taking a short break, and when we get back, you will have more of Caritas News on the go.
Because we know how much you wanted to get the right information, we give it to you right here. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Accessible through your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Caritas News on the go.
Caritas News on the go. One of the disaster-stricken countries now in Asia is Indonesia. According to the National Disaster Mitigation Agency, a total of 372 natural disasters impacted Indonesia since January this year. This include flooding, whirlwinds, landslides, earthquakes, high tides or abrasions, and land and forest fires. We'd like to get more updates on the Caritas Indonesia, and they are also doing their responses here at Caritas News on the go. So joining with us in the program is Caritas Indonesia's Communications Manager, Dhion Gumilang. Good morning, Dhion, and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having us here.
We are so glad that you are able to join us despite the distance that we have, Philippines and Indonesia. But I have been to Indonesia, and the country is so beautiful as in the Philippines. But having 372 disasters just for a very short period of time, for over like 3 months, it is a very alarming number for disasters to happen. How is Caritas Indonesia coping, and what are your priority interventions?
Well, actually, it's pretty overwhelming for us, especially for this tropical cyclone Rosa, and then the earthquake in West Sulawesi at January, and then the current earthquake in East Java. They hit us almost in the same time, so we were used to have a quick response to them, because we were used to respond one by one disasters with a sufficient time break between them. So we have enough time to make a response designs as well as to distribute logistics, etc. But yes, we're trying our best, our efforts to have the coordination and collaboration with other parties in Indonesia Biswas Conference, with the government, to serve the people in need. And talking about the priorities, we have these standard operational procedures. We have this scheme in colors, which are the green color for the local policies to respond, and then the yellow for the diocese Caritas to respond, and then the orange, it's for Caritas Indonesia collaborating with the Caritas in dioceses. But for the red one, we have to collaborate and coordinating with the international organizations, especially with the Caritas Internationalist. Well, each color is becoming our priority, but when it hits the red color, we need to respond quickly, and we have to encourage and assist the Caritas diocese to have their own response with coordination from Jakarta.
Okay, that's an interesting way of doing things, color coding everything so that you'll know which first to go to, and then how to prioritize also. But COVID is also a problem in your country, right? So how are your responses on the pandemic?
Well, COVID is pretty devastating for us here. And since in the beginning, we already distributed some PPEs to local healthcares because they have no sufficient support from the government. So we are distributing PPEs to them, and then we supporting part-time teachers in remote areas by giving them salary, because we have done some fundraising in a national one through a combination between sports and donation, as well as we encourage the Caritas diocese to facilitating the local enterprises to market their food products. And it is still ongoing. It's still on process until now.
Okay. And do you have like you started with the vaccination program, right? With your government. So would you mind sharing with us like the challenges that you are facing? Like, because for example, here in the Philippines, one of the challenges that we have is first the lack of really sufficient supply of the vaccine, and then second, how are we going to roll them out? How do we prioritize also our population receiving the vaccine? So do you we have like a list of the priority sectors? Do you have that also in Indonesia?
Well, actually, we have a collaboration with the health affairs ministries, with the government to do the vaccination, and then we provide some areas and then some staffs to do the vaccination, and all of the medical supplies, all of the vaccines were provided by the government. So I think the challenges for us here is providing the spacious area, because there will be more people to come, more people to have their vaccination, and we do not want to create a new cluster of COVID. So that's, I think, the challenges for us here.
Correct. Thank you so much. And from your disaster response experiences and with COVID also, what are your top 3 organizational learnings that you would like to share with us, or that you were able to document?
Well, actually, for the first one, we have to revise our standard operational procedures, because we are getting started to activating our national trained volunteers, because we have to deploy them to certain local affected areas, because we cannot do the response by ourselves, by the national Caritas. So we have to activate the DSAC Caritas, who has the trained volunteers to deploy there, to do the assessment, to do the logistic distribution, and etc., as well as the media center. And for the second one, we need to having a strong collaboration and coordination with other parties in the Bishop Conference of Indonesia, with the government, because for the Cyclone Soroja, for example, we have a collaboration with the Social Communication Commission in Bishop Conference, and we need some publication. We have done some reports to the public using a press release, using a media reports, using infographics, so that the people in Indonesia would know what Caritas has done to the affected areas. And then we are trying to have the collaboration with the Gender and Protections Commission to have a psychosocial intervention to the local to the affected areas. And then for the last one, we are trying to recommending having a support for brand new clothes, because we do not want to create a pile of garbage in the affected areas, because this pandemic COVID, and then the clothes itself, we try to help people without hurting their dignity as a human.
That's so very good, especially the one that you mentioned in the last part, making sure that the dignity of the people affected by the disasters and even of COVID would really be uplifted and would really be respected. Dhion, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We are so happy that you are with us. In regards to everyone at Caritas Indonesia.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We have Dhion Gumilang, the Communications Manager of Caritas Indonesia. When we get back, there's another Caritas organization from Asia that we will be talking with. Please stand by. Caritas News on the Go will be right back.
Because we know how much you wanted to get the right information, we give it to you right here. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Accessible through your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Caritas News on the go.
Yes, thank you. Welcome back to Caritas News on the Go. Since 2017, over 1 million Rohingya people were forcibly displaced from Myanmar. Since then, at least 900,000 of the population sought refuge in Bangladesh. Problems like citizenship, malnourishment and hunger, safety and security, natural disasters, and the COVID-19 pandemic abound in the refugees. To understand better their situation and how Caritas is responding, we have Inmanuel, Chayan Biswas, Head of Operations for Emergency Response Programs of Caritas Bangladesh. Good morning, Inmanuel, and so nice to see you again. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, and thanks for inviting me.
Yes, we needed you to shed some light on the Rohingya issue, especially that, like in the Philippines, we needed to really have a full grasp of what is happening in your country. So first off, the issues concerning the Rohingya refugees are very complex. There are several items that we could be talking about, but what are the basic information that we Filipinos need to know to understand the issue better?
Well, the Rohingya people experienced massive trauma during the genocide. Many lost their family members, and many were separated. The camps are overcrowded and in a difficult terrain. Risks of landslide, floods, cyclone, fires are high. Bangladeshi host community is doing their best to provide assistance. The people of Bangladesh were the first to help. And the government has provided strong leadership, but the scale is overwhelming and the crisis is protracted. Rohingya people are entirely dependent on aid. Humanitarian organizations like Caritas have delivered a massive humanitarian relief effort, but it is a challenge. The situation now is very complicated because Rohingya people want to return home to Myanmar, but Myanmar must guarantee their safety and that their full rights will be ensured, like their citizenship. Myanmar is far from doing this, especially after the COP, so it is difficult to see what solution there for Rohingya. Right now, they are caught in limbo and providing the best possible temporary living conditions in the camps. It's a huge challenge, but the humanitarian organizations like Caritas, alongside the people of Bangladesh and with government leaderships, are trying to provide safety, dignity, health, and well-being for the Rohingya people. The solutions can be short-term, like a temporary humanitarian response in other parts of the country, but the long-term solutions are not there in Cox's Bazar for the Rohingya families. So we have to try to create mid-term solutions that provide a meaningful life for the Rohingya, but not a permanent one. We are giving a very durable and dignified solutions, but it's not a long-term house. It's a mid-term shelter that we are providing currently. Still, we are trying to make this more than a house in a settlement. We try to make it a home in a community, when it is not meant to be for many years. The crisis has negatively affected the host community as well, especially since it has lasted so long. The fact is that the tensions have arisen between the local communities and the Rohingya community. And the government of Bangladesh is very concerned about the national security issue, so that has caused them to create a lot of restrictions on Rohingya people. This can complicate humanitarian efforts. And this does have a negative effect on the Rohingya people.
You have been to the Rohingya camp several times over the last several years, right? And then, can you describe to us how is it? How are they doing? For in a day, what should we be expecting? How are they going to work? Or are they working? Or how are they getting food? Do you provide them with these kinds of things?
Well, there is a strong coordination system in the camps. There are the camps. The camp area is divided into several parts, and there are all total 34 camps. And in each camps, there are different sectors, and each there are some organizations who are responsible for some specific sectors. Like in some camps, Caritas is the focal for shelter programming. There are other agencies who are focal for food programs, and there are some organizations who are focal for protections. So basically, they start their days with prayers. The men who in the camps, they start their day with the prayers. Then they go to the if they have any cash for work program with some agencies. So all the day long they work there. But the adolescents, boys and girls, they usually pass their days ideally here and there, or they join in some community centers. And the women, they always stay at their home, and most of the time they go for collecting their relief item materials. That is the general scenario in the camps, where how they are passing their days.
Okay. And in the Philippines, our minorities also have been facing almost the same challenges as the Rohingya people. Displacement, loss of identity, harassment, and even like just this year, we have several incidents of extrajudicial killings concerning our minorities. So are these concerns also part of the interventions of Caritas Bangladesh?
Yes, there are similarities. Rohingya people or Rohingya Muslims are one of the minority communities in Myanmar. Maybe you know already. And that has created some scope for displacement. We have been providing psychosocial support, trauma counseling, and implementing community-based protection programs in the camps. We have been providing training and empowering the community people, that means the Rohingya community, so that they can protect their own most vulnerable people and give psycho. So we have engaged the host community people in the response and arranging different activities to reduce social cohesion. Besides, we have been balancing the aids, the total aids for the Rohingya community. As per the directions of the government, we have been balancing the total aid 25 to 30% for the host community and 70 to 75% for the Rohingya community, which was a very justified initiative for the government. We appreciate that. In our shelter programming, we have been recognizing not just people's physical needs, but their need for dignity, and that focus on dignity is really important to people who feel marginalized or discriminated against, or feel their dignity is trying to be erased.
Thank you so much for stressing that out, Inmanuel, because we really need to also see how in other countries the problems the problems of the minorities are affecting also our lives, and how the responses also are being done by Caritas all over the world. So in the past years, I wanted to ask you really this question. In the past years, there have been challenging circumstances, especially for us at Caritas, and you have so many accomplishments to boast about, to talk about, especially at Caritas Bangladesh. You have been jumping from one position to the other. Of the many accomplishments of Caritas Bangladesh responding to disasters and to the COVID. By the way, how is COVID pandemic in the country?
You have rightly mentioned 2020. The year 2020 was really a challenging year. Caritas Bangladesh has responded to several disasters in 2020, like Cyclone Amphan, fire, flood, and year-long COVID-19 programmings in 2020. So all these disasters are like emergencies within an emergencies for the Rohingya response program. The densely populated Rohingya camp was a matter of concern for the national and even for the international community when the first COVID-19 cases detected in the camp. it didn't end even until now, as the number of positive cases is increasing gradually, both in the camp and in the host community. However, as part of this emergency response, our shelter programming means a lot to the community people. Our post-distribution monitoring reports shows the evidence exactly. Our shelters, we think, our shelters are not just a shelter, but a place of peace to them. Our protection program helps those who have experienced the worst possible violence here in the camps after they had already experienced violence and displacement. It is reaching people who have no one else to return to. We have been empowering the community people by building their capacity. So the situation in the overall situation in Bangladesh and even in the camp, the number of positive cases is very rapidly changing, and we have been experiencing new COVID-19 cases, and the number of positive cases is increasing very rapidly in our country, in the camps even.
Okay, so these cases increasing very rapidly. How are you also like trying to coordinate, navigate through these complex issues and make sure that even for Caritas Bangladesh, the staff are safe and you're well provided also with the kits, the toolkits, to make sure that you won't be contracting COVID?
Well, currently we are in a home office modality. So the government has declared week-long restrictions. So most of our staffs are now at home. But during the last months, although there was some very little restrictions for the staff safety reasons, we have been we have developed some modalities to distribute the COVID support to the beneficiaries, and therefore safe distance and sanitations and using mask was some of the criteria before entering our distribution points. That helped us supporting our programs or distribution programs.
Thank you. And how are you coping personally with the pandemic and then the responses?
Yes, that is a good question. Maybe you already know that I was also affected by COVID in last month. So the coping mechanism is very effective for all the staffs who are doing. We are currently with Caritas Bangladesh. We have been assisting our staff with different informations and helping them with their mental support. We have providing the counselors so that they can get support from the counselors as well. And our staffs who are facing some difficulties or health issues, we are advising them to stay their home so that they can feel safe.
Okay, and I am very happy that you were safe and actually very healthy looking at this point. Thank you so much, Inmanuel, for joining us this morning in the program, and I am really happy to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This Inmanuel Biswas, the head of emergency operations of Caritas Bangladesh. When we get back, another one from Caritas Asia would be with us joining the program. We'll have a short break, and Caritas News on the Go will be right back.
Because we know how much you wanted to get the right information, we give it to you right here. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Accessible through your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Caritas News on the Go.
chances to Caritas organizations in the world is to think about the future. In Asia, the regional coordinating body of Caritas has been consolidating each of the member organizations' actions and programs over the last year to determine how the Catholic Church's social action network can better prepare for future responses. To update us of the activities of Caritas Asia, joining our program is our Regional Program Officer, Ari Nugroho. Welcome to the program, Ari, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Jing. Good to see you again. Yes, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for responding so positive to the invitation. We would like to be asking you several questions, especially as we would like to be updated on how Caritas Asia is also doing at the moment. But before that, just like my question to Inmanuel, how are you? It seems that Thailand now is going back to the new normal, but Caritas Asia, how are you and the rest of the team?
Yes, you're right. In Thailand, the cases are rising again, and I think there's been some going on discussion on the internet, on the social media, whether there should be another lockdown or not, because we saw in large number of provinces that they are doing 14 days quarantine, or the visitors coming in to that the province need to go to quarantine. So, but in Caritas Asia office, we're still doing okay, thank God, and we are still going to the office as a regular office hours. But we're really not sure because this week we are on the national holiday for Songkran holiday, and we'll see next week after we resume office. Then we'll see what will happen. Hopefully the rate will be going down, and situation is not as bad as before.
Yes, that's what we have been hoping for, praying for the whole time, especially for the last year, that the COVID cases would be going down. But on another note, each of the Caritas organizations in Asia are doing their respective COVID responses. And what are the critical similarities and differences of the responses that, according to the reports that you have been receiving?
Yes. For us, each country, each member organization has its own contacts and needs, and I think it's as same as Philippines or Bangladesh or Indonesia that you had in the program before that. Each of them experience the impacts of COVID differently, and each members also and each country has a different capacities in responding to these needs. So those are different, I think. But and on the other hand, the similar thing that is being displayed are they're all giving their best in responding to these needs. I think this is the bottom of the similarities between the members, and they're giving their best in responding to the needs of the affected people, and with love and compassion, and they're working around the clock to ensure that the needs are met. And they're working again. I just want to say this again. They're working around the clock to ensure the needs are met timely and delivered in high quality fashion. And the other similarity is, I think, on top of COVID-19, they're also responding to other pre-existing risks and hazards, like what you have in Philippines, typhoon, Indonesia, typhoon, floods, earthquake. Also Bangladesh, that is the one that you just had presented by Inmanuel just now. And this is something that they're doing while also risking their life and their safety. And I think we should thank them. We should thank them more. Thank our Caritas Humanitarian workers, Caritas member organization more for this effort.
Mhm. Thank you for giving us those like insights, because also we wanted to know what are the important updates that you would like also to share with us from Caritas Asia.
Um, Actually, there are just some statutory matters I would like to inform that we are finally being registered here as a foundation in Thailand, and we are grateful to Caritas Thailand and also Catholic Bishop Conference of Thailand for helping us in pursuing this complex registration process for I think more than 10 years, I think. And another update is that Caritas in Asia is also undergoing a process of we're planning to have a new strategic planning for the next year, because the 2017-2021 the current strategic plan has actually ended last year, but we decided to extend it until this year June. But the process will be done online, I think, because I think we still experience some restrictions in the travel. And the last one is we are pushing through with the concerns and priority of the Confederation, that is on safeguarding and localization. And we have Dr. Richard Pintunchi, the former director of KMSS, Caritas Myanmar, as the focal point for the region. So I think there will be more discussions on safeguarding and localization involving member organizations in Asia, and then we request everyone to watch out for it. And there might be some invitations and for discussions and meetings. So, yeah.
And there are other activities that you would want to share with us in the coming months from Caritas Asia?
We are actually just launching our new regional humanitarian capacity building. It's called SHAPE, that is Strengthening Humanitarian Partnership and Exchange. And we are also taking into account the experiences of volunteers and humanitarian workers responding to COVID in the past years, and also humanitarian response in general. And we also putting into account the safeguarding and localization aspect in this. And the team has met several times in the past month. And there will be some regional activities like webinars, meetings, and we're preparing also some online presence using the online platform or maybe social media. And we're just starting, so we are still cooking this idea. And then when it's all ready, we will share the invitation for everyone, the Caritas member organizations, to join.
And lastly, Ari, because like for example, here in the Philippines, we are celebrating the 500-year anniversary of Christianity, and then from Caritas Asia, as we also consolidate our efforts either to respond to disasters or we do our things against COVID pandemic. What makes our effort a beacon of hope for all Asians?
That as Caritas, we work, our work is deeply rooted and inspired by the Catholic social teaching. We respond to the needs of human beings, regardless of their backgrounds, or regardless of their ethnicity, race, and so on. This is aimed to build a world based on justice and fraternal love. And we are not alone in this. I mean, we are not working in silo in this, because we are working together with government agencies, interfaith organizations, and other NGOs through different platforms and different networks, that we uphold the same non-discrimination principle to make sure that the provision of aid is based on the need alone. So I think that that's the situation that that's the situation that Caritas humanitarian workers are involved right now.
Thank you so much, Ari, for sharing with us your insights and for your presence in the program. Thank you very much. And again, regards to the Caritas Asia team in Bangkok.
Thank you, Jing. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. That's Ari Nugroho, the Regional Program Officer of Caritas Asia. Our country is facing a lot of pressing concerns at the moment, but we have to also consider that other countries are in the same depressing state because of natural and man-made disasters, civil unrest, and health emergencies, among others. This just show us how connected we are with each other and how our actions or inactions affect each one here or abroad. So we call on for compassion, kindness, and generosity even stronger. We need to heed a call, so let's do Alay Kapwa. I'm Jhing Rey Henderson, and this is Caritas News on the Go. Good morning.
Because we know how much you wanted to get the right information, we give it to you right here. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Accessible through your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Caritas News on the go. Ever wondered how you can be part of a global movement to help the most unfortunate Filipino communities? Caritas Philippines invites you to take part in doing Alay Kapwa sa Caritas in 9 different ways. These revitalized Alay Kapwa stewardship program will let you support the 9 priority interventions of the Catholic Church starting this year through Caritas Philippines. Be part of our global network of compassion. Show your love, kindness, and generosity by supporting the following stewardship programs. Alay para sa kabataan. For only 137 pesos a day, send a youth to school and end their family's cycle of poverty. Alay para sa karunungan at kasanayan. For 168 pesos a day, professionally train a social action worker from your diocese. Alay para sa kabuhayan. For 50,000 pesos, share your blessings for a kabuhayan package for a community of fishermen. Alay para sa kalusugan. For 100,000 pesos, at least 1,500 farmers will be assured of food for their families. Alay para sa kanlungan. For only 260 pesos per day, give a disaster-stricken family a permanent home. Alay para sa kababaihan. For only 400 pesos a month, empower rural poor women with sustainable social enterprises. Alay para sa kaligtasan sa kalamidad at sakuna. For 150 pesos per day, help a family prepare for disasters and calamities. Alay para sa kalikasan. For 100 pesos, let trees grow, thrive, and create new forests. Alay para sa katarungan at kapayapaan. For 300 pesos a day, help us build post-harvest facilities for our agrarian reform beneficiaries and indigenous peoples' communities. By being part of our networks of compassion, for just 1 year, you will be enabling families to have better access to a better future. So what are you waiting for? Let us do Alay Kapwa sa Caritas.